Welcome to another episode of Between the Posts. My name is Tyler Vaughan. I'm your host of this wonderful podcast. But in all seriousness, we welcome you back, whether you are a returning listener or you are a new listener. We welcome you for the first time, and we're really hopeful that you have found a podcast for you, the coach, the player, the parent, wherever you might be, at whatever level you might be participating in. We sincerely hope that Between the Posts is a podcast that answers your questions and gives you some guidance for the upcoming season. Today, we've got another wonderful episode, a continuation of the part 2 from last week's episode 13, which was, So You Want to Play College Soccer. We had on guest college coach Bradley Morrison. Bradley came to us, a good friend of mine, known him for quite a few years. Previously, he was at the state level as a technical director for the state of North Carolina, and then transitioned into college soccer and is now a current college coach at a very successful program. One of these kind of topics here that we're going to get back into today. We know, and Bradley and I knew early on as we were kind of discussing what would be the most appropriate, relevant topic that we could deliver to the people out there to help them either get through a challenge they might be facing or answer some questions that they might be having. And, as a college coach and any of us who are listening who have already been through college recruiting, you played at some point in your life, it's evolved to only become more stressful, to only become more complicated, and to only become more important for players seeking to play at the next level. With the addition of technology at the fingertips of every single human being out there, it truly has become an art to getting to the next level. One of the things that was really always a question of older players that I coached in the past was, how does my son or daughter play at the next level, and the next level being the college scene. So I thought that this would be a great way for us to get in, and I'm grateful Coach Bradley came on, and he has laid everything out there. In the first part, episode 1, and 2 as well, the overall goal was to take players and coaches, listeners, parents, whoever you might be, from essentially what you should be doing your freshman year of high school all the way up through signing day. And there are obviously a lot of do's and a lot of don'ts, a lot of things that you want to consider and think through that maybe, players that are focused so much on the soccer side of things may not be thinking through when it comes to deciding actually what college you're going to attend from an academic standpoint. So we're going to dive back in with Coach Bradley. So we left off and we were discussing last week where we kind of split away, and we're coming back in today. We were discussing sending in and creating video content for coaches. So we're going to pick right back up with the video content, creating a player video. Like I said, there are many do's and don'ts, and Coach Bradley offers such a very phenomenal, intelligent avenue for players and parents to kind of utilize this podcast as a roadmap. We know the statistics, and we've discussed that. We kind of brought that in on last week, but with approximately 450,000 male players, and this is an estimate based on the NCAA, and I'm assuming it's probably a little bit low at this point in time, but they say that approximately 450,000 male players seek to play college soccer. Of those 450,000 males, only 25,000 make it to the next level. And for females, it's 400,000 with about 27,000 playing at the next level, playing collegiate soccer. So we know there's competition out there, ladies and gentlemen. We know that there are a lot of players that are wanting to play at the next level, and we hope that today's podcast, as well as last week's podcast, so if you didn't listen to last week, we do highly encourage you to go back and listen through that at some point, at least the first little bit of it, to kind of get your feet wet into the topic and to kind of see where we're headed with this today. But we know there's a lot of competition out there for your son or daughter, for you as a player, and for parents, and we want to try to give you on this podcast, which is why it became such a really fantastic topic to tackle. We want to give you the roadmap. We want to give you the tools to get your player to the next level, or at least to give them a very good shot at playing at the next level. The strategies that Coach Bradley brings in and delivers to you last week and then again today, those strategies are tried and true strategies. They are what successful collegiate athletes are utilizing to get from their freshman year to signing day and signing at a college their senior year or sooner within their high school journey. So we're hoping to relieve a bit of pressure, answer some questions, and then, of course, more importantly, try to get as much information into your hands and resources as we possibly can. A great resource out there is actually Coach Bradley's website, tacticscorner.com, where he tackles a lot of other very relevant soccer topics from a coaching standpoint as well as from a playing standpoint. I highly encourage, after listening to this episode, to take a look over at tacticscorner.com, which is a great website, Bradley, and a platform that Bradley and his crew have put out there, and I think it is a wonderful kind of tie-in and supplemental resource to the phenomenal content that he's delivering to us today. So we'll dive right back in with episode 14 of Between the Post. Our title again, so you want to play college soccer? We're going to give you all the answers here on Between the Post. It offers a perspective for a lot of coaches that are wanting to look at the build-up play, the work off the ball, right? So, I think, what would you suggest? Just blending the type of clips that you provide. So some, I think parents, again, I guess, I don't know, man. I think now everybody's become a little bit more intelligent in terms of, I think that's access to technology, right? You can do so much more, but I think parents need to remember too that, listen, just showing the ball flying into the net off of your son or daughter's foot, that might make it on SportsCenter's top 10 plays tomorrow, and it might impress a coach, to be fair, but also they're wanting to see other things too. They're wanting to see build-up play. They're wanting to see how the player works off the ball, movement, that you might not get in a quote-unquote highlight reel where they're finishing top 9 of the goal, 15 times in a row in a different jersey. So, is that what you would suggest, is really providing a blend of I guess, content for a coach to look at and trying to hit on different aspects of either a position or just the game in general?
Yeah, for sure. I would have, obviously, a forward. They're going to, like you said, make runs and behind. They're going to maybe check back for the ball in the build-up to help with the build-up play. They may provide some through balls. Obviously, finishing is going to be a big portion of that video.
Right.
But then another thing that you can do as well is not only provide the highlight, but if you record the full game anyways for the highlight video, you can send one half of the game or a full game, if you link it on YouTube, something like that. So now, if the coach is interested in the highlight, then they can click the next video, which is, hey, this is the first half of the game.
Right.
So then they can watch the whole first half unedited, and they can really see, okay, yeah, this is what's going on.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion. I was kind of holding in a chuckle over here. I was just thinking about, years ago that it just wasn't quite that simple. You had a VHS tape that you were sending out, so,
Yeah.
But it is what it is.
Yeah.
So that's pretty funny. But again, it's with that technology comes, a smarter type of parent, a smarter type of process that we have to be a little creative, and you got to stand out. So I think that's a great perspective for sure for people to be thinking through. Definitely the angle, that's a great suggestion. I was kind of joking when I said the phone because really it's not ideal to get that great footage, but I think, right, that angle, try to get that camera up there, whether it's just on a tripod or not, try to give the full perspective. So, no, I think those are great suggestions.
Yeah, and there's, sometimes if you go to a tournament or something, they may be offering, that they'll video the games and stuff like that. So just check on that before you get there.
Yep, absolutely.
Those things.
So we've got our list, sophomore year, we've got a list, we've narrowed it down, we focused on keeping our grades up. I'm going to keep hitting on that one because then that'll make a lot of people happy. I'll redeem myself. But, so we've looked at these official visits, right? They're kind of starting to think through that in the sophomore year, or is it too early for that?
Yeah, so they're thinking for it. Rules just changed. So Division I, you can start to take official visits in the fall of your junior year. Previously, that was just senior year. So you can really look at your junior year, maybe making still some unofficial visits. The sophomore, the 10th, 11th grade year is kind of a time that you do maybe 6 camps over those 2 years at different varying schools. Okay, and at those camps now, coaches, you're starting to hear from coaches a little bit more, like. You went to a camp and there was 20 coaches there, and then you got a couple emails saying, hey, we liked you at the camp. come to our camp.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And junior year, they can start to give you more feedback, like I just said. Hey, we liked you at this camp. Come to our camp. We'd like to see you on campus. And that would be an unofficial. No school can link. They can't pay for you to come in to go to camp.
Right.
So it couldn't be an official visit to come to camp. So that's just another way to get on the campus and really see. But the dialogue can really start happening the fall of your junior year. And so then that's the time, that you ask those questions. Hey, to the college coach, where do I fit in? What are you looking for in your program? What type of players do you want? How does my GPA stack up? You probably are going to take the SAT or the ACT for the first time in your junior year. So that will be good to get those scores back, and that will be another factor into can I go to this school or not, along with your GPA. So things are starting to build up in your junior year, and you're hearing back from coaches. And so now the conversation starts. And this is where, as a player, you really want to start to identify, especially as a goalkeeper, what programs am I looking for? Does this program, does this head coach, think that I'll fit into the program, right? Does this program have a goalkeeper coach?
Right.
Does this program, am I going to develop here as a goalkeeper? Am I going to grow and get better, And when you're on campus, if you know players at that program or are able to talk to the players during the camp and stuff like that, maybe that's something you want to ask. Are you getting better as a player by being at this program?
Well, I think
especially
No, sorry, no, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry, but I wanted to touch on this because A, I'll forget about it, but B, we'll move on past it and won't make as much sense. You said something earlier that I really want to make sure we hit on, which is the fact that I think a lot of players in the freshman and sophomore years, that you put so many feelers out there to coaches and you wonder why no one's responding back to you, right? And you're thinking, man, am I good enough? Am I going to be able to pull this off? And it has nothing to do, and I think that's critical for us to remind people. It just because you're not hearing back, it's because the rules don't really allow you to hear back, but it doesn't mean you're not on their radar. So I want to reinforce that because I think that mentally players, we tend to get a little bit in our own heads, right, where we think, oh, I'm getting no response. Well, in reality, you might be more on the radar than you think, and it's an opportunity to continue the hard work, to continue doing all those things that got you to where you are and put you on a collegiate coach's radar. So I just wanted to touch on that. I think that's super important because I think so many parents and players that listen, we don't all. I mean, I don't know all the NCAA rules. I'd struggle to go through it, and I probably know more than most people, right? And I know there are a lot of coaches out there too that know kind of the basics, but potentially don't know all of them. So I think that I want to reinforce that because that's something that we don't want to lose players, and you don't want to have players become a bit dejected just because they think that they're not, oh, I haven't heard back. I've put out 1 billion emails and videos, and man, I'm the best thing in the world. Well, but that's because the rules don't allow it. Am I right there? Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to touch on that because I think that's I've heard it before, so it's going through people's heads, and I think that people just forget or they just don't know, and I think that's pretty valuable as far as this process goes. The timelines, we talked about this earlier. The timelines, those timelines are critical from the player perspective and from the coach's perspective, but they're bound by those rules and regulations to not communicate. So it doesn't mean you're not on the radar. Don't stop working. That's all I've got to say. So carry on.
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah.
I mean that's just huge,
Yeah, and again, it's a confidence thing. You're doing all this work and you're not seeing any reward. And
Absolutely,
it can be frustrating.
Absolutely. No, I think you're spot on.
Yeah, so I guess we'll touch on a little bit now. Now is a time either your junior or senior year that you're going to do official visits. So you get 5 total official visits, and so. You're a senior, you're going on official visits. At this time, your sophomore, junior year, you went to these camps, your junior year, the conversation started, right? So now you really know where you stand with these guys. The college coaches have either said, yeah, we think you could be an asset to this program, we're interested in continuing the conversation, or they said, you know what, you may not fit here, try somewhere else. So you're starting to get some feedback and some real information from the schools itself, which is important. And now you're going to choose the official visits. So you've only got 5 now. So we started, a big net freshman year, sophomore year, junior year. We started to identify it a little bit more based on maybe our GPA, our junior year, what our test scores were, and the feedback from the other coaches. So now you can choose the 5 schools you want to go to. And an official visit, by definition, is the school provides financial assistance during the visit. Okay? That doesn't mean that every school is going to fly you in, take care of everything. Okay? Some schools will, some schools don't. Some schools just cover your lodging while you're there and your meals. So it just kind of depends. But what it means is that, the school has done the paperwork and everything, that they're going to cover some portion of the visit.
Should the expectation be from a parent's perspective? I mean, I'm thinking from a parent's perspective here. Should the expectation be that colleges are covering a lot of that stuff? So meaning if a parent says, hey, they're going to cover everything, and then they don't, I just want to make sure that our expectations around that are right. Does it depend on the size of the school?
Yeah,
primarily?
It depends on the school.
Okay.
I think it depends on the school and what type of situation they're in to get the players in, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. I just wanted to lay that out there. I think we were always kind of looking at, all right, what are the right expectations for people to be thinking about? And this one, when we're talking about college recruiting, this whole process, that's critical to make sure we're all on the same page here as we look at that. So, yeah, perfect. Carry on.
Yeah, so then you really can start to have a little bit more in-depth conversations and really see, okay, where do I stand? For most schools, starting your senior year, you can apply.
Right.
And get those sorted out. And then when you're having conversations with, it's about, especially as a goalkeeper, like you said, it could be maybe the toughest to figure out the territory of where do I fit in here. So, before you use an official visit to go to a school, and I doubt that they would bring you in if they weren't seriously interested, but, before you go to a school, kind of start to identify what is your situation in the position that I play.
Right.
So if I'm a goalkeeper and I say I'm going to be a senior, so next year I'm going to enroll, do you foresee needing a goalkeeper? They should answer yes, and then okay, how do I fit into this?
I think too. Yeah, no, I was going to say I think you're right with goalkeeping too, and we don't have to come back to that, but it is the one position for sure that you could find yourself, you could find a coach wanting you, but you also need to be thinking from your perspective too. All right, they want me. There's three keepers in front of me. Well, maybe we're all pretty equal in terms of skill level, but they have 2, 3, 1 year on me college experience, so I guess too, it's another opportunity for the player to really think from their perspective, what do you want, right? I mean, you have to be reasonable in going into those expectations, and throughout this whole process, maybe the players have had an opportunity, and I know a lot of players will do this, go watch a game, right? Go watch some of these players that could potentially be your teammates playing. Look at their skill level. Look at what they bring to the table. Look at them, from a goalkeeper perspective. Look at what are some of the aspects and the strengths and the weaknesses of their game when you go watch them play. So, I think that you definitely hit on something there. That from a goalkeeping perspective, man, everybody likes to give us a hard time as goalkeepers. We're all crazy, we know that. But I'm telling you, we've got a rough life out there, especially from a recruiting perspective. But no, I think you're right for sure. And I think too I just wanted to hit on the fact that it comes back to the player, right? You take control of the decision-making process. If you're fortunate enough to have 4 coaches say, hey, we want you, that's a great place to be, but it's also might complicate the situation a little bit more because you have more to think about, more to consider. So I think you hit on a good one there for sure.
Yeah, that's where the official visits help, because not only do you get kind of the outside perspective from an unofficial visit, you're kind of on the exterior, right? But when you come for an official, maybe you stay on campus with the team, with one of the players in the dorm. So then you really get to see, if you go to a game that night, then you really get to see, okay, how do they interact before the game? What was the game like? what do they do after the game? What do these guys do in their downtime? You get to see how much downtime there is for a college athlete, how much is required from the program. So you kind of really get to see a snapshot of maybe a day in the life of the athlete at that school, which is very important to help you make your decision.
Yeah, I think that's very wise too, to kind of see what will my life look like here as a player. And I think that I remember that kind of opening my eyes, that when you're playing college sports and you're playing really any sport for the most part, and really almost at any level, from my knowledge and understanding and experience, that it's kind of like a full-time gig. I mean, playing collegiate sports, it's you're going to class and you're training, and that's what it is. And it does take a certain player to be able to balance your schedule, to manage your time, to understand it's going to push you. It's going to require a lot of you. It's early mornings. It's late nights. I mean, it's all of the above. And obviously, college is a time that you want to have fun for sure. You want to experience it because adulthood and reality is right around the corner. But listen, it's definitely something to be considered when you're looking at, hey, this is going to be some time commitment here from a college perspective. And some players want it, some players love it, some players, it might not be the right fit for you. So I think that's right. And all colleges are different and have different expectations for sure at different levels. But I think that having that perspective, if you can gain it while you're trying to make these decisions, I mean, it could potentially change the mindset of a player and could potentially influence your decision overall.
Yeah, it's a great insight into what it would look like at each school.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to a class and there's 400 kids, and you're sitting in there, and you're like, well, I don't know if I like this. Or you go to a class and there's 12 kids, and you're like, well, I don't know if I like this either. So it kind of gives you that information that it's hard to describe, or it's you have the moment, and official visits allow you to be in the moment of those things. So,
yeah, for sure.
So that's very good.
I think that's so funny you say. I mean, it's true. Players should consider the fact that, listen, again, that's the academic side, but a campus that has 400,000 people walking around on it, that might be an unrealistic number. I really have no clue. But, that's different than a campus that has 3,000 people walking around on it, right? So there are different feels. And, I mean, you're right. It suits a player's preference. And, look, it's what do you want? What are you looking for, right? What kind of experience are you really seeking at the college level? So, yeah, that's a good one for sure to add in there.
Yeah, and so, after you do those visits and get information about, you've applied, right? So now we're in basically your senior year. You've applied, you visited the schools during the fall. You kind of know, okay, this is what we're looking to do, and where I stand in each program. Let's say you're a goalkeeper, all 5 schools, the dream world, you got 5 options, all 5 schools say you're going to come in and be the starter, right? And so now I'm going to turn the conversation, I guess, to the stickiest point, which is scholarship. And all I can say at this point is every school is different.
Mm-hmm.
From how they use scholarship money, both academically and athletically, to how they're able to combine the two or not combine the two. It is on an individual basis. And just like a lot of this process, you have to take each school, each person, each player kind of as individual items, and then you're trying to match them together. So, figure out what the school for you, both academically and athletically. Obviously, in Division III, there is no athletic money, so all of the scholarship may come through academics. Division II and Division I, the school may have athletic scholarship, but then it's determining, is there any scholarship available for the year that I'm coming, for the position that I'm coming? And am I the person that's going to be receiving that? So those are all conversations that you're going to have with the coach.
Mm-hmm.
And as you have narrowed that down and you've made official visits and you're seeing, okay, is this the place for me? Those are questions that you're going to want to ask so that you can figure out, where do I stand and how is this going to work financially.
Yeah, no, that's a good perspective, because you're right. Not only is every program different and what they can offer, but obviously, too, every player's needs are different from a financial standpoint. So I think this probably all kind of sort of gets back, even though the timelines are what the timelines are, and you can only find out some of this information when you're able to speak with coaches and really are getting closer to what the program has available. Maybe they have a heavy year where they've recruited a lot of players abroad, and because of some of that, they've had to lay out a little bit more of the scholarship money, and the funds have are depleted a little bit, and there's not as much left. So I think that potentially the earlier we start all of this process, I think the better off it's going to be for you, the individual player, for sure. So I think that kind of ties back into, listen, it is a process. There are steps along the way, and I think the sooner everyone starts to think about this, I think the better off you'll end up being, and hopefully the more options you'll have, because when you're in the freshman, sophomore years, you're thinking through your list, right? You've made your list, you're doing these unofficial visits, then junior year, the official visits come in, you start to gain a little more, real insight into what's available to you. But I think that for sure, that's definitely something that you got to start all this. I mean, think if you compressed all of these, and I know players that have, like I mentioned earlier, they haven't started the process yet. They're in their junior, they're going into their senior year. It's the summertime, and they have no clue. And I mean, to cram all this in, you're competing against players who have started their freshman year, who have already gone through the steps 1 through 5, right? And you're just starting out. So I think that's more encouragement that I could say, and more support that you're offering us to get the ball rolling early, so you don't have to find yourself with one option and zero. Maybe you need a lot of academic support, athletic scholarships, whatever it might be. And you now have only allowed yourself one option, and that option doesn't have a whole lot left to offer you. So I just would encourage people, and again, kind of reiterate what you're saying, which is get this process started early, so you don't find yourself in a tricky situation where it might come down to, do I play or do I not play at that point, right? Because I can't afford to play here. So I definitely think that definitely supports what you'd mentioned earlier.
Yeah, and I think overall in this whole conversation, the biggest thing is what we said in the beginning. You have to be your own advocate.
Mm-hmm.
You have to go out there, speak with the coaches, try to figure this information out. It's very rare. You said the statistics. 1.3 are playing Division 1, 1.5 overall.
Yeah.
Division 2.
Yep.
That these coaches, that you're just going to walk onto the field, and then all of a sudden you're getting emails and calls and information about, we want you. That's going to be a very rare thing. So it's almost like the interview process, for a job. You're practicing it, because you've got to put yourself out there and say, this is what I want. Do I fit here? Am I the best for your program? And then at least they have the information. They've seen you, they understand, they know who you are, and then the ball's in their court, rather than if you're not your own advocate and you're just waiting for these offers to come, maybe they don't even know about you.
Yeah.
And so you want to take that possibility out of it, and you want to be sure that, hey, they've seen my video, they have my information, they know that I'm interested. Now the ball's in their court.
Well, and I think, too, you hit on something that I'll kind of build on, which is you're going to get a lot more no's than you are going to get yeses. So you've got to think through that, and just we can't be dejected when we get a no. I mean, right? You've got to have a lot more options out there. So I think that's definitely something, advocating for yourself, really making it, for those players that are serious about it, it kind of becomes your job, right? With support of parents and coaches, of course, but it's got to become your passion, your job, whatever you want to call it, but it's got to become, that main focus for you. I mean, it really is, it's going to take a full 3 to 4 years, I guess. I mean, in theory, probably 3 years total, before you hopefully decide where you're going to end up signing and going to, but it's going to take a serious commitment. So I think advocating for yourself, if you're not willing to fight for yourself, I'm not going to say it's college sports might not be the right avenue for you, but it's definitely going to be a little bit of a tougher situation to put yourself in, for sure.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of.
So we've got got what? So we've got the senior. So we're into our. So I mean, basically, you're looking at the junior year. You're going into official visits, right? You get your official visits. I mean, when do you see that a lot of players are making the decision to sign? Is it the junior year or the senior year, or does it just vary so much that there's not even a real answer to that?
Yeah. So signing day. So in Division One. So in Division One, the junior year, you're now able to do officials. I don't know. That just changed. I'm not sure what Division Two, Division Three NAIA are for official visits.
Right.
Because it was previously your senior year.
Okay.
And so the signing day for Division One was on in early February. Now that's been moved up. So now it's earlier. So now it's November. So it's the fall of your senior year. But so I guess so that's kind of a tricky question as well.
Yeah.
I'm verbally committed, or I've signed an
Gotcha.
an NLI. So those are two different things. So obviously the player and the coach can verbally agree that he's coming, or he or she is going to this school, but then the documentation cannot be signed until that signing day,
Right. Okay.
whatever it may be.
Okay, that's good. No, that's good actually, and that's something that I guess is kind of common sense, but I'll allow myself to go out on a limb and say I didn't really think through it like that. But no, I mean, all right, you do hear players all the time that, oh yeah, I've committed to so and so. So that's not a complete lie. It's not completely false in a lot of cases, but officially they've got to sign it. They've got to do that on signing day. So that's okay. Gotcha. I understand.
Yeah. So the signing day is the official first day that they could sign.
Right.
So if they're verbally committed before that, then the paperwork should be in order, and then it should be ready
Gotcha.
on that day.
No, that's a good
But they
point.
can sign any day after that as well.
Oh, okay, gotcha. No, that's a good point. I mean, again, we're all about expectations here. I want to make sure that people walk away knowing what to expect. So, so I mean, in the senior year, and you really hopefully find yourself in a position, right, where you've done if you've gone through the process. So I'm not even going to begin to address the fact that if you haven't gone through the process by the senior year, because I think that's probably going to provide a bit of a hard conversation to have. But I mean, so you're looking at the senior year. Hopefully, you've made a decision by when is signing day? You said in the senior. Is it senior year? What month is it? Do you remember?
Yeah, it's November.
November
Now for Division One.
Okay.
Previously, it was February.
Okay.
So
February
after
senior
the
year.
fall,
February
after
senior
the fall
year.
of your senior year.
Okay, so now it's moved back to November. So, I mean, in theory, you look at, hopefully by your senior year, you've verbally committed, and then obviously, come signing day in November now that obviously you're signing on the dotted line, you're ready to go, and you can, look back at all the hard work. So, I mean, anything else? I don't want to really tackle too much. Well, if you haven't done it, oh crap, here's your strategy, right? Because I think that's tough. Again, we've spent about an hour now talking about really committing to the process. So, looking at senior year, you should be ready to go. I mean, is there anything else we're missing? I mean, anything else that we haven't touched on? I mean, I know we've touched on some of the highlights where we, and there are, individually we could probably take a whole episode and talk just about what should be inside of a highlight video. But obviously there are a lot of resources out there for sure. And I think if you trolled YouTube for even 15 minutes, you'd see 10 great examples and 10 horrible examples, and you'd kind of have a direction to go. So anything else that you feel we've missed on in terms of that?
No, yeah. I mean, I think we've discussed the player and their pathway, and of course, a massive part of it is the support that they have from their parents and their coaches. These are two very important factors in how they support the process.
Right.
And so again, it's those discussions with the parents and the coaches about the expectations of the school, what type of school they want to go to. That really helps in the development of how the process gets started and how smooth the process is.
And a lot of these No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, having those conversations early, and often by the time they get to their junior and senior year, they should be more comfortable with the decision that they're going to make.
Right. Well, and I was only going to say that I know a lot of players nowadays, and it's definitely changing as again, just I think that soccer is evolving in so many different ways, whether it's on or off the field. At a lot of clubs, I would pay very close attention to a lot of clubs. A lot of clubs are offering basically kind of free classroom sessions for players and for parents, but predominantly for parents to kind of give them what we're talking about here today. So, I'd encourage you to chat with your club, whether it's a small club or large club, because even some of the smaller clubs and associations, they might have the ability, the capacity, or they might just have someone in the organization that could come in and offer this kind of guidance. But I mean, encourage your club if they're not already doing it and you're interested to try to help support in the process, because inevitably in that scene, there are going to be people who know exactly what we're talking about, who know, are in Bradley's shoes and are kind of in the background of all of this and going through the process every single season, every single year, and are aware of some of the nuances that are changing out there with the rules and regulations. But if you're at those large clubs and you have these opportunities to sit in as coaches are doing presentations, and I know it happens, we definitely encourage you to go through those type of kind of classroom sessions, ask your questions, right? And come educated, right? That's the point, is the more you know, the sooner you start this process, the easier hopefully it's going to be in the long run. So Bradley, one last thing, and then we'll kind of wrap up. So one thing, if you had to tell a player that was looking to go into college, at any point, what would be one suggestion you would give them? I'm going to put you on the spot, but I know you know the answer.
Yeah, I think that it's about the player's dedication and motivation intrinsically. How bad do they want it, and are they doing extra things? Are they doing this extra stuff that we've just been talking about for the last hour? Are they on the field before the training session, after the training session, putting in the work? And that's not be at the top colleges in the nation, but that's to be a good collegiate player that has a great experience. It's about your commitment to it, just like it is everything else in life. You're gonna put your time in the things that you love, and so if you're gonna put your time into training and getting better as a soccer player, and that's really what you want to do, then go for it 100%. Don't leave anything on the table or anything in the gas tank or whatever metaphor you want to use. Make sure that you go after it 100%, not only with everything we've discussed, but at the actual training and working hard and trying to get better each and every day. I think that's a very important part that you can never forget.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant, man, and I'm glad that we ended with that, because we just spent over an hour here kind of talking through the steps in the process, and maybe have stressed some people out. Hopefully have helped people, but maybe have stressed some people out potentially if they're kind of behind the eight ball. But now But I mean, we've talked about only things that for the most part occur off the pitch, off the field, right? There's a whole other side to this, a whole other component that we can't really talk through on these episodes, right? And it's what are you doing when no one's looking? It's what are you, like you said, there's a billion metaphors, they all apply here. But it's how hard are you training, right? What kind of effort are you giving when you think no one's watching? Are you going out and are you living and breathing this all day long? Because we talked about the statistics and we say, there's about 500,000 people playing, especially just on the men's side or the boys' side. You got about 500,000 people playing high school soccer, right? On the girls' side, you've got approximately 400,000 players playing high school soccer. And out of those, a fraction of that, so you're talking somewhere roughly just an average of about 2% on average, 1.5 to 2% of all of those players are actually going to make it to play at the collegiate level. And that's a small number, right? So you've got to do the stuff that differentiates, that sets you apart, that will help you achieve those goals, those dreams that you've been working so hard to do. So I'm glad that we ended on that. And obviously, I think this is something that we can kind of keep the conversation going. So if you have any questions out there for Bradley or for myself, definitely let us know. Shoot it over. You can email it over to me at tyler@renegade-gk.com, and we'll get Bradley in on the conversation, or just to add some comments down below this particular episode, wherever you might be listening. We had such a blast today, and I'm very grateful and humbled that Bradley would spend some time with me. We're getting ready for you to start, I know, and are working very diligently on the upcoming fall season at the collegiate side. So I'm grateful that you spent some time with me today. So thank you so much for being on and offering your perspective, and we'll hopefully look forward to having you on again here, Bradley, if you've had some fun.
Yeah, thanks so much. I really enjoyed it, and like you said, I hope we provided some good information that helps some people out there.
Yeah, absolutely. So this has been another episode of Between the Posts, where we talked with guest coach Bradley Morrison around college recruiting, and we will look forward to having you guys back on next week for another episode of Between the Post. So this brings episode 14 to a close. Man, I tell you what, looking back and listening to all the absolutely wonderful, top-notch, elite, really throw any adjective you want at that content there that Coach Bradley took us through on the two-part series regarding playing in college soccer. We just wanted to thank you guys again for taking time to spend with us here on Between the Posts. We know that time is of the essence. We know that as coaches, as parents, as players, most all of us, you have other jobs, and we're greatly appreciative in the podcast world, a world that we're new to for sure. We know you have options, and we just wanted to thank, obviously, guys like Coach Bradley that are spending their time to come on to our platform to deliver this content to you, the listener. And then more importantly, we always want to thank you, the listener, for helping us grow what we're trying to do here. Every single week I ask for feedback, questions, and I think obviously maybe no feedback, no questions to a certain extent might be a good thing. But very sincerely, we hope that what we're delivering to you is helpful and is helping you prepare for next season, is helping you as a parent instruct, guide, or educate your players through the challenges that they're facing, especially around an absolutely critical topic like trying to play at the next level. With every episode of Between the Posts, we seek to deliver education, inspiration, and motivation. If we can do our best and really offer all three, I think we're doing pretty well. But any one of those particular philosophies and pillars of our kind of philosophical view here at Renegade GK, if we can tackle any of those, I think we're also doing a pretty darn good job. So we hope you've enjoyed this episode 14, the second part with Coach Bradley Morrison. We're looking forward to coming back next week and chatting with you guys. Definitely a phenomenal episode around the corner a week from now. All episodes release on Wednesdays. You can put that down on the calendar, hopefully on the device that you're choosing to listen on. You've already liked us, subscribed to us, done all those crazy things that we want you to do that we really don't actually even know you should be doing. But man, I tell you what, we really are grateful that you spent some time with us today. We'll be back next week as inspired as ever and energized to bring you more absolutely top-notch content around goalkeeping, coaching. Whether you're a coach, parent, or player, this is the podcast for you, Between the Posts. My name is Tyler Vaughan. Have a wonderful rest of your week and success out there on the practice field and the match play this weekend if you find yourself in a preseason tournament. All the best. We look forward to speaking soon. Thanks so much.